Today is Friday, March 22nd. It is 4:30, 39 weeks, 5 days pregnant, going into the hospital this morning to get induced.
My first cause cramping.
Room tour. This is trying to figure out the chair. It is now 6:30. We got here at 5. I'm hooked up to some monitors. This one's for the baby's heart rate. This one is for contractions. And then I have an IV blood pressure thing. They started IV with fluids, obviously, and then we started Pitocin. So now we just sit here and wait until I start feeling things, I guess. And I've already cried a lot. Cried this morning just because I was feeling anxious for the day. And then as soon as I started as soon as I started filling out paperwork about all of these things that could go wrong, because of course you just have to sign stuff just in case, I started crying just because it's scary. But everything's gonna go fine, even though the IV really hurt and freaked me out. Watching ridiculousness. It is now 8 o'clock, still chilling. They're upping the Pitocin every now and then. I don't remember how often she said, but contractions are definitely coming on, and they're not too painful, but obviously they hurt a good bit. But they just switched my monitor to this cordless one so I can get up and move around if I want. And we just heard our neighbor have a baby, and that was kind of traumatic to listen to, but happy birthday to our neighbor. Also, I met my new doctor because the doctor who's delivering my baby today is just the doctor who was on call for today and not the one that I've been seeing. And she tried checking me to see if I'm dilated anymore, but she could not feel anything, and she said she had small hands and it was very painful. So she's gonna come back and try again in a bit, I guess, and I'm hoping the contractions help push my uterus down. I guess they were saying that way it doesn't hurt like it did before. Almost 10 o'clock. Still hanging in there, but they just brought me a popsicle. Now 10:30, still nothing really happening, but gave me this little ball. Hopefully sitting here will do something. I'm trying to move around a little. It is now 12 o'clock. They came in, broke my water. Not doing well. The contractions hurt very, very badly, so I just ordered the epidural, and hopefully things start moving pretty quick. It is now Monday, March 25th, and we are home because I gave birth to the most beautiful baby boy in the entire world. We actually got home yesterday on his due date, which I think is really special, and obviously I planned on vlogging the entire experience, but was a little preoccupied, and it was just a whole lot crazier than I really thought it would be. I didn't even think about vlogging with everything that was going on, so I did want to sit down and kind of talk about everything that happened because it's a very special experience, and I feel like everyone's experience is different, so I just want to share mine. But I'll put timestamps down below if you kind of want to skip through and just see some random things. So the last I checked in with the vlog, it was when I ordered the epidural. I ordered it about 12:30ish because I just couldn't move or even breathe through my contractions anymore. They got so bad to the point where I thought I was gonna throw up, and they were bringing me to tears. It hurt so bad. I was feeling them so badly in my back because I do have, or did have, I don't really know, I had an anterior placenta, which means it's in the front, so all of my pain, I felt it straight in my back. So anytime I would feel contractions, it would literally tighten up my entire body, and it was the worst minute or so of my life. I don't remember exactly what time I started pushing. I really wish I remembered, but I want to say I pushed for maybe an hour, maybe 2, but the baby was so high, and all day the contractions weren't pushing him down. So the nurse actually sat with me and had me push 3 times for 10 seconds each, just kind of like showing me how to push, I guess, and also working the baby down even further. So we did that for a very long time, and I didn't realize how hard pushing was. Obviously didn't think it was going to be easy, but after the second push of holding it for 10 seconds, I was so winded. I just kept joking that I should have worked on my endurance before this because I didn't realize how much endurance it really took. So I want to say I pushed for maybe an hour or 2, and then the nurse actually went and got the doctor. I knew nurses did most of the things before the doctor came in, but I didn't expect the nurse to do as much as she did, I guess. She had me push until the baby's head was right there, just ready to grab. At one point she even said, push and reach your hand down and feel the head, and I literally touched the head while he was still inside me, and it was the weirdest feeling ever. But now every time I look at his head, that's like all I can think about, which is weird. Yeah, so she went and got the doctor, and it was I've just heard stories of birth, so I just had this idea in my head of what I thought it was going to be, and it was nothing like that. The birth experience was super chill. Literally a cartoon was playing on the TV still, and I gave birth. They had a big light right above me, but left it off so I could see my reflection because of the bright lights that they had shining. So I got to watch the entire thing, which was crazy, and I'm so glad that I got to. I literally saw him come out, and then as soon as I looked down, they just threw him to me, which was the craziest thing. And as soon as he came out, I like felt him, saw his hand, and I immediately looked at Justin and just was in shock that this thing just came out of me. It was crazy. But he was born at 5:02 with a 13-inch head, 19 inches long, and 7.05 pounds. They laid him on my chest for a really long time. I think you do skin to skin for the first hour or just about an hour. So while I was holding him, they were stitching me up. I actually tore in 3 places. I don't remember exactly where, but tore in 3 places, and I got some hemorrhoids. So that's interesting. I'll talk about the aftercare and everything that they gave me here in a second. But my overall thoughts of birth was it was not what I expected at all. I mean, granted, I don't really know what I expected because everyone's experiences are different. But for me, I expected birth to hurt a whole lot more. I did get the epidural, so that's probably why it didn't hurt. But the most painful things were when they had to come in to break my water, because I actually delivered with a doctor who was not my doctor, and she had smaller hands, longer fingernails, and she just struggled to reach my uterus. So it was very painful when she tried checking me the first time. And then when she came in to break my water, she basically has to use her fingers to open something, and they stick like almost a crochet needle in to actually break my water. And that was the most painful thing. I literally let out a yelp and pretty sure I cried. It was so painful. That hurt the most, and getting the epidural hurt so bad. Now granted, I was going through those really bad contractions when I finally got the epidural, and they have you kind of round out your spine. They stick the needle in your back, if you know what the epidural is, and it just hurt so bad. They said it would feel like a bee sting, which it did, but it was the most intense bee sting ever. So it was temporary pain, unlike the contractions. But I literally just kept telling myself the entire time, like, this is temporary pain, just have to breathe through everything, and people say it's worth it in the end, and I can now officially say I think it was worth it in the end. But once we did skin to skin for a while, they cleaned him up, stitched me up, we changed my hospital gown, because obviously the gown that I was wearing was disgusting after all that, and we moved rooms. So everything happened pretty quick, and once we got to the other room, not even an hour later, I feel like we had 3 visitors. We had Justin's mom, his dad, and my dad. So I was a little frustrated that we had visitors right away, just because I'm like, I literally just gave birth an hour ago and there's already people here. But they stayed real quick, and it was honestly nice to see people. I feel like it made me happy. And yeah, once they left, the nurse kind of helped me with breastfeeding, because that is what I want to do. And she gave me this little book, well, not this book, but she was teaching me how to kind of track it. I ended up rewriting it once I got home, but you literally track what time you start, what side he was on, for how long, and if he had a wet or a dirty diaper. The first time he breastfed was for 23 minutes, which I feel like is pretty good, and the second time was 57 minutes. Now granted, it was not great because we were learning how to do it and still learning to do it, but I was feeling pretty good that he was able to get on there for that long, because I know breastfeeding is very hard for some people. That's why I'm really hoping I can do it. After trying to breastfeed and all that, I don't really remember what happened. It was kind of a blur. I think I just passed out, honestly. But the next day, Saturday, March 23rd, I met with a lactation consultant for the first time, and she kind of showed me a different way to breastfeed and to latch and all of that, and she was so helpful. I met with her twice the entire stay, and she was so helpful. I literally have so much brand on my phone. But Saturday was a very busy day. My sister and her fiance were the first ones to come. I think they came at about 10:30, and after that it was just a revolving door of visitors. So many checkups, tests. He had his first bath that night, because he doesn't take a bath within the first 24 hours. So that night he had his first bath, and it was just a long day. If you've seen my recent vlogs, I kept going on and on about how I didn't think I wanted any visitors in the hospital, and now I kind of see why. Honestly, it made me happy that we had so many, because it made the time go by so fast. But I will say, trying to establish breastfeeding and learning how to do it, and the baby learning how to do it, it was very hard with so many people, because he does eat every 3 hours, and with a newborn they almost eat more when they're trying to learn, just because sometimes they don't get full. It's a whole thing. And when I did breastfeed in the hospital, I literally took off my top, literally just had everything out, just because we were shifting so many times, trying different things, and it was a whole mess. So it was very hard when people would come and the baby was fussy, crazy. I wasn't comfortable just whipping everything out, but we made it through, and it definitely went by a whole lot faster than it would have if it was just me and Justin sitting there the entire day. So very grateful for that. But because of that crazy day, Saturday night was the worst night. It was so bad. I was exhausted. I'm sure Justin was exhausted. The baby was exhausted. He had so many things done to him, so many people just passing him around. I'm sure he was exhausted, but he just kept crying and wouldn't latch, and I was getting so sad because I couldn't get him to latch, and we're still learning how to do it. So he would scream and cry. I was literally sobbing because I just felt so sad. I felt like he was scared because he's not inside the womb anymore, and like I said, I was just exhausted, so I just kept crying, and our nurse was so sweet. I think literally as soon as it was her shift, she came right in, and that's when I was sobbing, and she was like, we have this nursery right down the hallway, we can take you to it, that way you can see what it looks like, but we'll keep him for the night because second night syndrome is apparently a real thing, and babies are just realizing they're outside of the womb, so it's usually a very tough night for a lot of newborns. So she said, we'll take him to the nursery, come back every 3 hours so you can feed him, and that way you don't have to worry about him making noises, crying, all that. We can help him back there. So we let him go to the nursery. Originally, some people said, let the baby go to the nursery the second night or whatever, and I didn't think I would want that because I didn't know how the baby would be, but because the baby was so fussy and I was so exhausted, I just let them take him. And I was a little nervous. It took me a very long time to fall asleep. I think it literally took me an hour just laying there, and I almost got up and went just to go see where he was because I guess I was just feeling nervous, but everything was good. We got nice sleep for the 3 hours. But then Sunday, March 24th, that morning they brought him back and they weighed him for the first time, and they say babies always lose weight once they get out of the womb, but he only lost 3% of his weight, which is awesome. He came out at 7 pounds 0.05 ounces if you remember, and when they weighed him he weighed 6 pounds 12.5 ounces. So really happy with that. It gave me reassurance to know that he is actually getting enough of my breast milk, or not milk right now, it's colostrum, but it made me happy to know that he is getting enough because I don't really know, you know. But yeah, so they were really happy with that. They said 10% weight loss would have been bad and kind of a sign of he's not getting enough to eat, but I only lost 3%, so feeling really happy about that. Sunday was a really good day. We had one more visitor and we ate a nice big breakfast. Anything we had left on our little hospital menu to be able to get, we got. We met with the pediatrician one more time and they checked me out, said everything was good and we could leave. They offered us to stay longer if we wanted to, if we felt like we needed it, and we didn't think we did, so that's why we came home. But I was feeling so nervous about leaving just because I wouldn't have the nurses here to help if I needed anything, or just a silly question I couldn't just ask them. But at 1:50 we packed the car and we left the hospital. When we got here, the dogs were so cute. Of course, they were just sniffing, trying to figure out what the heck this new thing was. Miley, she's a little scared of him, of course, because she's scared of everything. But Jack, he is just so interested. Every time the baby makes a noise or, of course, starts crying, his ears get nice and big and he just gets so interested. I was feeding him yesterday and Jack literally just sat right beside me and just would stay there the entire time. He just is very interested and I think it's very cute. But last night was a really good night, especially for a first night, because the nurses even said the first night being home might be a struggle just because it's a whole new place, and so they just kind of warned us that it might be a rough night, but it was actually so good. I'm a little nervous with how good it was because I know it's going to be kind of like a forward backward thing because he is still learning everything. But I was nervous about not having the nurses, like I said, but I feel like being here without the nurses kind of forced confidence on me because I knew I didn't have the nurses to lean on and just kind of do everything for me. So I feel like that really helped, and I feel like my mom instincts kind of set in when they needed to. Last night when we put him to bed, he was so quiet. We put him in a Velcro swaddle, and in the hospital we were just using the little blanket swaddle that they had. So I was nervous how he was going to be with a new swaddle, with a new bassinet, a new room, all the things. But as soon as we swaddled him, put him in the bassinet, he was so silent for literally his first time sleeping. So I only got up one time. Actually, I got up a couple times just to make sure he was still breathing because I'm like, there's no way it's going this good right now. Hi, Jackie. I was like, there's no way it's going this good right now. But I checked him and he was breathing and still doing great. So this morning he was a little fussier around 3 a.m. and I felt like it was kind of harder to get him to latch right away like he was doing all yesterday or last night, but still fine. Yeah, other than him being pretty fussy around 3 a.m. this morning has been so good. Around 9 I was feeding him and Justin was making me breakfast, and I heard him on the phone with the pediatrician, and I literally just looked at the baby and just started crying because it just feels like weird but really good, and just feeling really happy and proud of this little baby that we made and excited for our new little family. But yeah, currently I'm feeling very sore downstairs, and my legs honestly feel a little weak anytime I try to walk around, so I'm just sitting and laying in bed for the most part today. And my stomach is so squishy. I knew it was gonna be, but it's like really squishy and just weird getting out of bed. I'm used to having to like roll on my side pretty much to get up, and it's just weird being able to move how I wasn't able to before, so it's gonna take a while to get used to that. I'm still taking the medicine they were letting me have every 6 hours, just Tylenol and Motrin to kind of manage the pain. And my back actually hurts so bad from where they put the epidural, which that surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be as sore as it was, but they gave me these little heat packs to put on. I'll show you everything that they gave me here in a second, but they gave me this little heat pack to put on that looks like this, and that has been helping. So I haven't had to use it today because I have been in bed not really moving around, but for what they did give me for all the postpartum care, they gave me this entire bag to take home, which was clutch. So I made this little basket for in the bathroom, and every time I use the bathroom, these are the products that I have to use to try to keep everything clean. First, use this little bottle to spray, and honestly I almost bought all of this before going to the hospital, but I knew they would provide me with something, so I'm actually really happy with everything they provided. I thought it was fine. So if you're on the fence about if you should buy stuff or just wait and use the hospital stuff, just wait, use the hospital stuff, everything's fine. So yeah, this bottle to clean everything, and then they gave me these wipes, these little aloe wipes, and then of course some pads to catch all of the bleeding. I don't actually remember how long they said I could possibly bleed for, maybe up to 6 weeks, I don't remember, but got these. Eventually it'll slow down to where I don't have to use these big things, but using these for now. And then they gave me these little witch hazel pads. They're little circle pads that you just stick on there. It keeps it cool, and there is witch hazel on there that will help heal everything. And then this stuff is actually really cool. This is good for sunburns, cuts, all the things. So this I just spray down there before putting that pad on, and I put all of that in these little shorts. And I kept hearing people say that these aren't great and these are really what you should buy new ones of, but I think they're fine, so that's just what I'm using. So I'm really glad they gave me plenty extra. They also gave me these little ice pack things that I tried using yesterday, but I have no idea how to make them work. It literally gives you instructions and I just couldn't get the other one to work. So I have 2 more of these, 2 or 3 more of these, but I'm really glad that they gave me these too. I'm pretty sure I paid for it all anyway. But they also gave me for breastfeeding, they gave me this little pad for if it starts hurting. They gave me 2 of these, but they said with this, if I do use this, I have to make sure I wash my breasts really good after. But then for this is for when they get chapped. So I've started putting this on just to start preventing chappiness because they are starting to get a little raw after a few days of doing this. Yeah, so just have this little oil that I put on. Yeah, that is all they gave me for postpartum care. It's an entire process to go to the bathroom, which is crazy, but obviously for reasons, that is why you have to do that. So yeah, keeping up with that and just kind of how I'm feeling right now, besides tired, because obviously I'm really tired, but the baby is about to have to eat again, and then I will try to take a nap for at least a couple hours. But feeling pretty good. Like I said, last night went so much better than I thought it would, but I know that it is a learning thing, so tonight could be terrible, could be another great night. I hope it'll be another great night, but I'm just trying to remember to be patient the entire time. There was a couple times this weekend where the baby would start crying and I'd find myself starting to get frustrated and I'd almost snap at Justin almost, and I just have to remind myself that we're both learning, the baby's learning, we don't need to be getting mad at each other. I'm also very, very nervous about postpartum depression and baby blues because of how Saturday night went and me just crying so much. They said it was hormones and your hormones are going to do that, but I'm just so nervous about all of those things, so I'm trying to do all the things I can to prevent it the best way I can. I don't really know if you can, but yeah, just feeling nervous for that, but mostly excited for what's to come. I'm feeling very, very proud of this little baby that we created. He is the most precious little baby, and I keep just staring at him. Even if Justin's holding him, I just stare at him and just can't get over how cute and perfect and little he is, and the fact that he was inside of me, I just cannot believe it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're pregnant or about to give birth, I hope this kind of helped prepare you just a little more for your birth experience. I know when I was about to give birth, I was watching so many videos on kind of how it would go just to know what to expect, so I hope this video was a little helpful for that. I just hope what I said made sense. So if you aren't already, be sure to subscribe down below, and thank you so much for watching this video.